Hey everyone, it's the Koopa Man. Recently, at the June Nintendo Direct, Nintendo announced an Ocarina of Time remake. This is probably the most hyped news ever since the Final Fantasy VII remake was announced all the way back on PlayStation 4 during E3. Wow, that was a long time ago. But yeah, in spite of the social media drama llamas trying to make problems out of it, this is good news. Ocarina of Time is a masterpiece of a game dating back to the Nintendo 64 and is in most people's greatest games ever made lists. That being said, that didn't stop Final Fantasy VII from being remade either. In fact, many true fans want Ocarina of Time to be remade on modern hardware with all the new things you can do with video games nowadays. To say otherwise is just silliness. Which got me thinking, there are a number of games that, while extremely good, may benefit from similar treatment. So today we're going to go over at least my own list of games that, while already perfect, could benefit from a modern remake with all the new innovations we had in gaming since the time they were made. Now, to be upfront, as I know I have at least a few people trying to call me a woke leftist for not subscribing to their false idol of choice, cough cough autist whisperer, what I mean is not trying to make games for lay modern audience. What I mean is many of the greatest games like Final Fantasy VII or Ocarina of Time or the like are on older hardware and thus their visions are limited by what the hardware limitations and norms of the medium were at the time they were made. This is the same logic behind a few movie remakes as well. Ocean's 11 with the Rat Pack was good, but it dates itself compared to what a modern heist movie could be, as well as the innovations in filmmaking, cinematography, and the like. The original with Sinatra is still there, but that doesn't mean that the George Clooney version isn't as good. Now then, to start with, two on my very own list are already being remade, much to the ire of terminally online types who think I deserve to be banned from Twitter for not hating on a video game that a wife-beating pedophile furry told me to hate. The funny thing is I could either be talking about John Delarose or What the Egad. The description fits. Tomb Raider, Legacy of Atlantis, and Star Fox on Switch 2 will be released this year, if not released already when this video comes out. And while I do have my own gripes about going through the Lilat Wars fucking again, the cinematic approach is a little bit enticing to me. The actual God of War trilogy, Max Payne 1 and 2, Persona 4, and Silent Hill 1 are all getting remade as well. But speaking of Persona, the first two games would benefit from a remake as well, as they are, gameplay and story-wise, so far separated from 3 onwards it's not even funny. The same can be said for Fallout 1 and 2, which would benefit from such an update, as heretical as that sounds to purists of the original. I'm sorry, but the newer fans who are fans of games like Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, experiencing the story of Fallout 1 and 2 in gameplay style that is similar to 3 and New Vegas, does not take away your enjoyment of the original games, you big fucking babies. The same mentality is what held back Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee as remakes. People want to see Kanto reimagined as a full-on console game. Cerulean City can be a whole city instead of, 8 fucking houses. But the Gen 1ers are holding the series back, as the Gen 1ers are the people Game Freak care about appealing to the most. Well, them and the literal whales. A full-blown reimagining of the Kanto games with a fully involved world, full cities, and hell, the full Pokédex, would be a fantastic thing for longtime series fans. This is what people want from a Kanto remake, not just Red and Blue again, which is what we got with Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee and Fire Red and Leaf Green, and what we will get if they ever do Kanto again. Pokemon fans, true fans, not Gen 1ers and brand ambassadors, want a Kanto remake with the same ambition behind it that the Final Fantasy VII remake got. A fully realized world that goes so far above the limitations of what the Game Boy could portray. Is that so much to ask? Of course, such a remake would require getting the team back together, including taking Satoshi Tajiri out of the attic and letting him direct once again. The idea of remaking video games that are already considered masterpieces is to show what the creators envisioned that was limited by the existing hardware. This is why Final Fantasy VII Remake got the whole team back together before even starting production. It was essential so the team could fully realize their creation with the new technology. This was the logic behind the Resident Evil remakes and the Silent Hill 2 remake and others. Whether or not they were successful in this endeavor is debatable. Nemesis in particular was as half-assed as, ironically, its original counterpart, and it suffers for this, as well as the redesigns pushing the new director's social alignment, which is why they should have gotten the original director to return instead of handing it off to a new guy. It wasn't his vision they wanted to remake, it was the original director's. Conversely, Bloober Team was in direct contact with the original members of Team Silent for their remake, including hiring a few, to the embarrassment of those hyperbolic culture war content creators who attack people who worked on both games, mind you. It's the thought that counts when you are remaking someone else's work, so you should at least have them as a consultant. And then there was the case of Metal Gear Delta Snake Eater, where they were so dedicated to the original vision, they used the original master archival recordings for the voice cast, while still paying the original voice cast if they needed to do new lines or retakes, including revealing what everyone already knew, that Jodie Benson, aka Princess Ariel from The Little Mermaid, was Ava, the Chinese double agent. Even if the game did not have Hideo Kojima's direct involvement, for obvious reasons, they at least remained faithful to his vision despite what people like Retard Fist say. I should note that many of those types hated Hideo Kojima anyway, so their opinion is as worthless as the code it's printed on. Particularly if it came from the guy who got me Twitter permabanned like Mangasburg, or from a noteworthy Kojima hater like Razorfist. Speaking of though, another remake I and other fans would love to see is remakes of the original two MSX titles, Metal Gear 1 and 2. To see Solid Snake's missions to Outer Heaven and Zanzibar Land, which was already set up with the ending of Phantom Pain. To see John finally become Big Boss once and for all, and all that entails, and maybe even have an origin segment where we see David and Foxhound becoming Solid Snake, inheriting the codename of Snake from his father, so to speak. A Chrono Trigger remake would be incredible as well, especially as they would not need to do as much. Final Fantasy had the pixel remaster style, and Dragon Quest had HD 2D, both of which would be great styles for a one-to-one remake with updated graphics. Half-Life 2 as well already has unofficial remakes available, but if Valve was ever going to learn to count to 3, having a full version of the game remade as a tech preview of what to expect from Half-Life 3 would be nice to have. I would also say Grand Theft Auto San Andreas and maybe Vice City would benefit from this as well, but that would require Grand Theft Auto 6 coming out first, which we know is never going to fucking happen at this rate. Besides, 6 takes place in Vice City anyway, and costs $150 with a digital ID requirement. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic is also a highly demanded remake, and we are currently unsure of the status of the remake they announced a few years ago, whether or not it has been truly cancelled. With its initial reveal in 2021 and no concrete news since then and now in 2026, hope for the game ever coming out is basically dead in the water. But if done right, and faithfully, and in a way that expands the original story while updating the outdated mechanics, it would no doubt revive interest in the Old Republic era of Star Wars, if not outright revive the brand. There's also a demand, going back to Nintendo, for remakes of Metroid 1, aka Metroid Zero Mission as well, and Super Metroid in something more closely resembling the style we see in Metroid Prime. But even if they remade those games in a style more similar to Metroid Dread, and then also did the same for Metroid Fusion, that would indeed be very hype. Though my biggest personal desires for games to be remade that aren't a thing yet are Blood Rain, the Sly Cooper trilogy, and a remake of that mobile Hogwarts mystery game done in the engine of Hogwarts Legacy. Give me literally any of those and I'll be a happy Koopa man. But the key thing for any remake is it has to be done in the vision and creative spirit of the original, just on superior hardware to make that vision even more of a reality. If you're doing it to retcon history like Disney does with their live-action movie remakes, that isn't going to be any good. But thankfully, because of how much work, effort, time and money goes into developing video games, especially nowadays, you get far fewer cases of that happening by and large. Why spend all that time and money on what is going to be at the end of the day just vandalism? Nobody is that petty. Well, someone might be, but last I checked, Grumps can't even get his own game out, so the odds of him vandalizing any games are kind of low. Hopefully the Ocarina of Time remake is as good as the original, and is as good of a remake as the Final Fantasy VII remake has been. It'll be good to show generations who have only had Breath of the Wild what a real Zelda game looks like at the very least, and not one made to cater to idiots like Egoraptor. And hopefully these sorts of good remakes of masterpiece games continue to wow us and show us what these games would have been if they had the better technology and budgets that they do now. Video games are a fast evolving medium of entertainment, and remakes of already classic games are just part and parcel of that evolution. Film was the same way if anyone knows the history of cinema, so relax and enjoy the ride. Sure, not every remake is gonna be a winner. Resident Evil 3 Nemesis remake wasn't that good, but to be fair, neither was the original, so it all evens out in the end. Anyway, that's all I got for this topic. If I think of any more games I want to see remade, I guess I can comment on my own video, but for right now, this has been the Koopa Man. If you like this video and want to see more, be sure to like and subscribe as it helps my channel grow. Be sure to check out my other videos, and if you have a game you want to see remade, or are a fan of a game that's been remade recently like Resident Evil or Final Fantasy, talk about it in the comments as I love reading your guys' takes. And until next time, game on.